Thank you guys for showing up here and participating in the just Q&A session for on recruiting. I just want to let you know, please make sure that you have your mics on so we don't hear any background noise. Unfortunately, just because of the Zoom that I do have, there is no like Q&A box that I was able to actually feature on there. But ideally, what I really would love when the time comes is, getting a job in this industry. I just got to first say one of the core ingredients is all about confidence. And you got to have confidence in this industry. And with confidence, it means you got to have the ability to speak up and show up and ask questions and never be afraid. Never be afraid of what people are going to say, what people are going to think. Unfortunately, it is one of the greatest fears that people have in this world is public speaking. So they don't want to get up in front. But this can be the biggest difference that makes the difference between you getting hired or not getting hired in a situation, whether you're meeting with a recruiter, whether you're meeting with a client for whatever sort of job. I've actually been in meetings sometimes, almost like an interview session, and people didn't turn on their camera. I really highly advise that you get used to your pretty face and that you like showing up in the box. It's so important, especially when you're doing Zoom, because getting jobs, it's all about relationships. Sometimes people want to think that, oh, if I just have that good portfolio, that's all that I need. But I can promise you, and we'll mention this and I'll talk about this on an interview stage, if you're not there and present in that interview stage and you're not inquisitive, these are little things that I just want to just tell you that are just so important. So anytime, this is what showing up is all about, okay? So what the whole point of today is really just to give you guys any sort of insight. I know a lot of people don't get the questions answered that they want. They're just dying questions, especially when it comes to trying to get jobs in the animation industry. How does it work? So I just want to tell you just a little bit about what I did and my background and getting into recruiting. I've been teaching since I was 18 years old, really. I'm 51 now. I've been doing this for 33 years. I've been in the industry. I've been working professionally. I've been working with clients that are from magazines to commercials to entertainment to games to animation, all across the board. And I think that, again, the most important thing that we have to have as we're moving into this area is a strong portfolio. And that's something I want to discuss today, is just, again, building that strong portfolio. But as I was always been in this industry, I've been working, I've always had I've always just loved helping people. I've always just tried to help them in any way I can, try to answer as many questions. And while I was working in the studios, I always thought, how cool would it be someday to be a recruiter? I just know art. I know what I'm looking at. I know what I want to see. And because of that, I just felt like I'm going to start reaching out to people and see if there's this possibility. And that's something that I want to encourage all of you guys is anytime you have an idea, a vision of what it is you want to be, if it's that recruiter, that job in that studio, just keep at it, just keep pursuing it, keep just asking people as many questions as you can, show up to things as often as you can, like you guys are doing here in this little informal 1 hour session, right? You just show up and you'll be surprised how much information you can gather and get. And I had asked a friend of mine who happened to be at Disney, who wasn't in recruiting or anything. I said, hey, do you know, are they looking for any recruiters? He said, I don't know, but I'll give you the person's name who's over at recruiting. But I will say before that, I was reaching out on LinkedIn, which I think LinkedIn is a great source. And I want to talk about LinkedIn today as well, is to reach out to those recruiters, reach out to people where I was reaching out to a lot of the studios recruiting to see, hey, are you guys hiring? Again, I never got any responses. I got ghosted. I didn't hear any response, but that's okay. I didn't stop there because didn't get that response. And that's what led me to ask my friend, and he put me in touch with that person in recruiting over at Disney. And I emailed them And I never heard back from them. And I thought, oh man, this is, again, here we go again, but I'm going to keep going. And then it was about 2 weeks later, I think it was crazy. I was looking for some reason, and I don't know how the universe works, but it works in mysterious ways. An email setting or a site that I don't really look at all of a sudden popped up on my phone. I go, oh my God, I got all these emails that I haven't even seen. And there, lo and behold, was an email from the recruiter over at Disney going, hey, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it. Like, oh my God, it's probably too late, but no, I'm not going to think that way. Let me just pick up the phone, let me email him. And they were still looking. And that's what got me the initial call. And then that after that initial call, it was just like, we're still deciding, we're looking. I think it was about another 4 months, maybe, before I even heard back again. And all of a sudden I heard back, I think after the 4 months, hey, are you still interested in this role? And it's just like, yeah, I am, right? But I didn't stop my life. I kept pursuing, I kept going. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do. As you get rejected, which you will, and you get ghosted, which you will, it's going to be up to you to just not stop and just keep going. Again, this is what you want to do. And then keep asking Google questions, whatever you need to do, just keep going at it. All right. All right. With that said, that's kind of how I broke into the industry. I had a 2-year contract working as a recruiter. And I got to tell you, it was as rewarding as I thought it would be. To be a recruiter, to be able to work with artists. And being an artist is, it's not often that you find recruiters who are artists. There's very few that are out there. So to have that experience and be able to have that knowledge and know what I'm looking for really helps a recruiter in a long way, because you can spot things like that. I could look at a turnaround in a portfolio and know from that first drawing, from that first turnaround, if that artist is qualified enough to get into that position, or looking at their storyboard portfolio or their background development portfolio or background, whatever it is. So the first thing that you guys always want to make sure that you do is you have to know what it is that you're actually wanting to do. That's first and foremost. I think that needs to be as clear as day on your portfolio when you're reaching out. You got to understand, in the recruitment world, there could be a position which gets posted, and once that position is posted, it's then the floodgates open, and the studios across the board, from Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, DreamWorks, Disney, a lot of them are all posting on LinkedIn. This is why I think you've got to have a very professional looking LinkedIn page. I would start with that and make sure, and I can't tell you how many times through LinkedIn, when I would go to reach out to people, you go into their LinkedIn and they're missing their email in their LinkedIn in their contact information, or they're missing their website in their contact information. Go into your contact information on your LinkedIn today when this is over, and make sure that you fill out every single piece of information that you need to put in there. Update your bio, do whatever it is you need to do, because it is one of those places. Another great thing about LinkedIn on the recruiting front is that there's a lot of recruiters, they're posting the jobs there, and a lot of these studios will have, I know, like say Disney has Disney Jobs, where if you can just go to Disney Jobs and then you can get notified. So make sure you're getting notified from all the studios every time that there is going to be a job post. They'll post on Indeed, they'll post on Glassdoor. Now they just might post on LinkedIn and said, hey, we're hiring for this position, apply today. And then you apply. So everyone's applying what they need to do. And just to let you know, when working as a recruiter, I just got to learn the back end that I never knew. I was, again, always on the art side, but now I get to see the whole back end and how that really works. When you apply for a job, it's going in with the masses. There could be a job position where, hey, this studio, whatever studio it is looking for that character designer, that background painter, whatever it may be, that prop designer. Typically, there may only be anywhere from one position up to maybe about 3 positions. They might hire 3 character designers on a show. They might hire 4 background painters. Depends how big the show is. The show where they hire the most people is in the storyboard arena. If you want to be a storyboard artist or storyboard revisionist. And I will tell you this because people ask me this question all the time. is what's the entry level job? What's the easiest way to get in? There is no entry level job on the art side, and people will sometimes say it's prop designer. And I do not believe that at all, because anyone who has done props here knows that drawing props can be hard. You try drawing a bicycle from a top view and underside view and whatever it may be, or smashed up machinery or cars or spaceships. All right. So that's very important that you got to do that. But the entry level job really is like a production secretary. And the production secretary role is when you're coming in and you're kind of doing more of those secretarial things, and then you can build up to eventually coordinator and move up through these different roles. And that's where the resume is really vital, having that strong resume. Again, it's very important to have a resume in your portfolio. That's another thing people forget to put in their portfolio. And I will say, as a recruiter, and I will say this as someone, as a former recruiter, and as someone who was in there and working with a lot of directors, every time there was a new show, I would contact the directors or the art directors, and I would say, what is it you guys are looking for? You guys tell me, and have that conversation. Oh, we need someone who really understands this a lot. We really need someone who has this sort of style. We really need someone who has this. I would try to gather as much information as I can. That way, when I just start looking at the clients, I'll know the people applying, I'll know if they're going to be the right fit. So that was a major thing that I was always looking for. Are they the right fit? And that's what they're always looking for. The biggest reason you won't get hired on a production is simply, and it was the same thing over and over again, they're not the right fit. They don't have the right style. So you could have beautiful apples, oranges, and pears in a portfolio, but if you're missing grapefruits, they may look and go, I don't know. I just don't think that you could, they can do it. That's the mentality. And at Disney Television Animation, they don't test anymore. And a lot of the studios aren't testing because a lot of what the union did with the union guidelines, there were a lot of real restrictive, they were just, some of these tests were out of control. And you should be able to just look at someone's portfolio and tell if they're the right fit, right? So some of these tests were just, you're doing 2 weeks worth of work and not getting a job, or even turning in a test and not even getting a call back to say, hey, we got your test and it was terrific, and give you any advice. And so all that came into play, and this is why that practice sort really changed, and why it's important to have a portfolio that is extremely diverse in everything that you do. That's going to be one of the most important things. So just back to when getting that portfolio together and that resume as an artist, and when I would ask some of these directors, art directors, they don't care about the resume. Okay. On the production side, when you're getting into the coordinator, it's so much more important. But to be honest with you, it's a formality. It's an HR requirement. It's things that they sort of need. They need to see that stuff. But I never, ever, as a recruiter, judge someone by what was on their resume, because it was about the quality and content in their portfolio. Because how fair would it be if you hadn't had experience, if you got someone who's worked, say, 10 years in the industry and they're really good, but someone who hasn't worked at all in the industry but is super good, but now you're not going to let them through because their resume isn't as packed. And it's about, again, it comes down to that artwork. So that was a major thing, because I hear all the time, my resume, haven't never worked professional. I don't have a strong enough resume. Don't let that stop you from just, maybe you did something for your grandma. I don't know, put it down there. I did a t-shirt design for my local church, or it could be anything. Just try to pad it where you can, and also try to get that resume down to one sheet. That's very important, to get it down to one sheet. That's PDF that you can take, because as on the recruiting side, there's a few things that we need. We need your name. We need your website. We need your email address. Okay, very important. Again, always have that email. I can't tell you how many websites I even went to and there was no email on there. And then they got to have your resume. And another thing that's very important, and I know it was, at Disney and some other studios, they just want to know, are you authorized to work in the United States? So by having it in your about section saying I'm an LA based artist, or I'm from, New York, or wherever you're from in the United States, that's important, because if you're not, if you're from outside the country, well, that requires a whole visa thing, and a whole different process that's going to be involved on that front. So you just got to have that awareness and understanding, and it can be extremely tricky when you're on the visa. That's a whole nother beast, a whole nother discussion. I honestly, there's so much in that I'm not going to be able to answer too many questions based on that today, other than they just want to know that however you need to apply to get your visa, and I believe it's like the H1, and just get whether temporary work, whatever, make sure you figure that out, because again, I saw that very few people were ever brought in on that visa, because of, especially when, hey, we need this production, we need to hire someone in the next 2 weeks, right? That visa is going to take a month, 2 months, there's 3 months. Again, it pushes things through. So it's all about being prepared. And that's what this is all about. When you guys are putting together your portfolio, when you guys are doing all this, it's all about being prepared, having that strong portfolio. So here's the thing that happens. You submit, you apply. Those jobs are only looking for those few artists for that position. I was on some shows where there would be over 1,000 portfolio submissions for one job, all right? I don't want that to just freak you out and go, this is impossible, I'm never going to get in, because here again, it's that mindset and it's that belief system that you need to have for yourself, because you just might be that one person that gets chosen. Why give up so quickly? Don't do that. And also, why I believe, don't move into the 21st century in this art field, in animation, with just trying to get a job in the animation industry. And like I tell a lot of my students, just you're waiting in line, because that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just waiting in line to be selected. So this is why we always got to be working, building up that website, building up that portfolio, contacting other companies, other clients, doing everything that we can to have multiple campfires. You have to have multiple campfires in this industry, and you will get laid off when you work at the studios, all right? You're going to be on any studio from between, could be 6 months to maybe up to 2 years, and depending if that show gets picked up or not. You just don't know why things get canceled. A lot of the studios right now, they're waiting for all the analytics after first seasons. Let's just test it. Let's see if the audience is there before we even pick up. And so there's going to be a long wait. So when you get laid off and they say, yeah, there's going to be a second season, you may be waiting 6 months before that actually happens. So you got to be just diligent and just keep out there. And one of the greatest things that you have to do in this industry is make friends. Keep connecting with people, because this is how you hear about things. Oh, hey, I heard they're looking for a prop designer in this show. Oh yeah, you should apply. So always try to stay engaged. I would recommend that you stay connected to websites and forums like Cartoon Brew, like Animation Magazine. Just get engaged so you hear of things that are coming out and things that are happening in the industry. I encourage you to show up at events, wherever you can, show up at gallery shows, wherever you can, just always participating. The more you participate, the more chances you have. All right, back to what happens once you submit for that specific job. And this is what happened at Disney. You would submit and it would go into their back end, thing. Now, the recruiter cannot get to every single email. It's just impossible. So you're going to get an email saying that we received your information, and should we be interested, we're going to reach out, right? So you're not going to get an email directly from the recruiter. It would just be insane. That's just way too much. What happens is there's another program. There's a couple of programs. There's one called Workday and there's one called Hired Score. Hired Score was a big one. I don't know what other, I know Disney was using it, but there's a lot of other recruiters that use it too. I don't know which specific studios, but how it works is you apply and it will create a grading system. It creates A through D, and that A rating, B, C, D rating is going to show up. The reason a lot of times you're getting pushed into that D section or C section is if you are not completely filling out your application properly. If you are missing any sort of lines or don't fill something out on that application, you can get thrown into that D category. And keep in mind, if there's 1,500 portfolios that come in, you're going to go through as many as you can, but you're going to start with the cream of the crop. Let me look at all the A section. And I would find a lot of time those A's, well, okay, there's a lot of talent up in this pool through here. I would still go to the C's. I would still go to the D's because I would find a diamond in the rough, through there. And sometimes that was really cool, but just keep that in mind. So make sure you're filling out everything to its completion to be put in there. What happens once you get sort of like sorted out, there's going to be now, it's the recruiter's job to start. Basically, you're kind of like the butler at the door who decides whether you're going to let someone into the house or not. And that's the recruiter's job. Once that recruiter has let you into the house, they've opened up that door, they've taken your portfolio, it's up to the owners of the house, the crew, the showrunners, to decide if they want to let you stay, if they want to keep you there. That's what the reality is. So it's not the recruiter's job to make the decision if they're going to hire you or not. Now the recruiter has to go through those 500 to 2,000, whatever, limit it down to only about 20 to 40 candidates from that. And then that's going to get put on another list that now goes to the directors and the art directors or the producers of the show for them to now show and see, now go, okay, here's the top 20, top 30, whatever that the recruiter has given me that they feel is best for this show, that might be a good fit. And once they see that, then they're going to go through the list and they may decide just to pick anywhere from 2 people to interview up to maybe 6 people to interview. They're not going to pick all 40 people to interview, but what are they basing it on? And this is the thing that I heard over and over again, like I mentioned it before, the reason you're not getting hired or picked in that specific show is because you're not the right style fit. Okay. I don't know if they could really do it if they can get it. All right. So that's going to be another thing. And then now they're going to interview those people. So the recruiter sets up those interviews. You meet with with usually the producer and the showrunner or the art director. There may be anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 people in that meeting, maybe 2 people in that meeting. And now it's up to you, the interview. And the interview goes a long way. This is where you're showing up, you're on screen, you're prepared. And in that interview, this is where you're going to be judged. This is where you're being judged on whether or not you're going to just do, what are people looking for in an interview? They want to get a vibe. They want to get a feeling. They want to know that this person, they were really pleasant to talk with. They were extremely inquisitive. They were just, they just felt like they had the right energy. They felt like they had the right experience. I feel like they're going to be a great asset to the team for this reason. So there's all these things that are going to happen in the question. This is why you got to do things for yourself to build up your confidence, and don't be afraid of people, and go in and most importantly, have questions. There's nothing worse than being in an interview and then the interviewer asking you and telling you stuff and go, do you have any questions? And you say, I don't know. No, I mean, again, just think about that. It just doesn't come off as well. So just do your due diligence and find out and learn about these people. I remember one of my good friends, he told me, he was a producer over at Warner Brothers. When he was interviewing people, he would have people go into the office. Right now, everything's kind of Zoom, so it's not really just showing up all the time. The guy came into the office, and my buddy was a Green Bay's Packer fan. He's got his Green Bay's Packer stuff all over the place. And the guy comes in and it's just kind of like, you're a Green Bay's Packers fan, huh? Just kind of gives him a little dig and just kind of, shooting the shit kind of thing about him with football, and built this camaraderie, right? There was a connection that sort of happened there. So when you get to research people, find out who's in that meeting. It might be an art director that you're a huge fan of and you know what they've done before, to where you might bring something up about your childhood with them and say, hey, you know what? I just got to say, when I was younger, I blah, 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 and I loved it and it inspired me to whatever it may be. You got to do these things because it just shows that you're paying attention and you care, and you can find out anything about anyone anymore. So you're going to know who you're typically going into those meetings with, and then always make sure you show up on time. For crying out loud, do not show up on time. Make sure that you have tested all your equipment. Make sure that your volume and your sound is working. Again, do pre pretest so that you don't go into the Zoom meeting and you're just like, oh my God, I can't figure out the volume, and you're sitting and you're messing around. So once again, being prepared is very important. And then once this has happened, once you've kind of gone through that interview process, it still takes time. They need to make a decision. Nothing's going to happen just straight away. And then this is where you just got to kind of like wait, cross your fingers, and hope that you get the job. I would say a lot of the times, I wish personally that I would have got feedback of all the people that got interviewed, but again, the producers and everyone's doing their thing. You don't get all the answers back as to why you weren't hired. And that's a tough thing, even in an interview, which I thought that would be a great thing, a service to offer, to be honest with you, to give those artists, say, hey, the reason they didn't. But everyone's so afraid to, in my opinion, I feel, of offending people and upsetting people, that they don't oftentimes want to really tell the truth. They don't want to tell the truth why, you weren't accepted in that meeting. And it's just the way that it is. And it's unfortunate. And then but it's one small step for man that you kind of got that far. So keep going, keep trying. And then eventually that person's going to get the phone call from the recruiter saying, hey, congratulations, you kind of got the job. And then it goes through all the paperwork and everything else that needs to happen. So that was just kind of an overview that I just wanted to share with you guys in order just on how it kind of works on that back end and why you just want to keep submitting and keep trying. Now I just want to talk, I know you guys probably have, and I hope you guys have questions, and I'm probably answering a lot of your questions, but I'm just kind of, I'm moving here. My brain's going, all right. The other thing that you just want to just make sure that you do is, how do you stay in contact with recruiters? The best thing that worked for me, and I loved it when people reached out to me, like LinkedIn is a great resource, all right? Again, keep in mind, yeah, unfortunately, you're gonna get ghosted. I did my best to try not to ghost anyone. If anyone was reached out to me, I was on them all the time. I don't feel there's a reason why you can't get back to someone and take just 20 seconds and just give them some feedback or something where you can, or give them some information. So I did my best to try to get to as many people as I could all the time. But keep in mind, so reaching out on LinkedIn is a great way to connect with that recruiter. And just do follow-ups, all right? So how does a follow-up work? When you reach out to a recruiter and you've either emailed them, you got their email and you email them directly, otherwise you connect with them through LinkedIn. You can reach out to them and introduce yourself. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I want to let you know that I have this certain position. This is what I do. And if you guys are I saw you guys are looking for this sort of position. I want to share with you my portfolio. So you immediately don't make the recruiter start digging and trying to find all the information. Immediately just give them your portfolio link, give them your email, or they got you on LinkedIn, but here's my website, here's my resume, but just give them all the information. The more you just give it, that saves that recruiter time from having to dig through everything. So it's a great help and a great resource to make sure that you're doing something like that. And then if you have any password protected artwork on your portfolio, which a lot of people do because it's under NDA or something like that, just for the recruiter, make sure, and here's my password. Don't make the recruiter have to do an extra step and go back to you and go, so what is your password? And going back and forth and then waiting, because sometimes they just got to get that list up and out, and that's something that's going to be very important. On your resume, just on your website, don't put your password, right? So make sure it's not there. Make sure your password is just written on your resume, and absolutely make sure on your application that you write your password on your application somewhere. Please make sure you do that. There's nothing worse than going through applications, going through that whole process, clicking on that artist website, and then it says password protected, and now that recruiter's got to go back, send them an email, try to find out their password, wait for them to see it, and go through that whole process, right? So be prepared. Make sure that you're showing that recruiter all the information you can. Now that you've done that and you submitted, it's okay to reach back out to that recruiter. You could give it 10 days. Hey, I just wanted to do a follow-up, and hopefully that recruiter will say, hey, right now they're still looking. But don't be a pest, right? You don't want to email every other day and keep doing that. Just kind of time it out and just think about that. And just remember, if someone really wants you, they're going to want you and that person's going to reach out to you. So there's no use in constantly just nagging at someone if they're just two, three, four, five times. After a while, you kind of got to let go and you just kind of just got to push back, and just move backwards. I think it's important to reach out to someone. I usually go on like three times. I'll reach out to someone three times. If I don't hear back from them after three times, I assume they've moved on and I got to let go and go on to the next thing. If they do come back to me, that's great. But again, don't keep chasing people all the time. So that's something that you just want to think about with that. And just real briefly, before I ask any Q&A here, I just want to let you guys know just some positions that are just very important. What we're looking for is, and especially at television animation, they're looking for character designers. They're looking for prop designers. They're looking for BG for color stylists, people who are just coloring the characters and the props and the effects. They're looking for background painters. They're looking for background location artists. You're just responsible for doing background location. They're looking for storyboard revisionists and they're looking for storyboard artists. It is very rare that they are hiring, and these studios, television animation is hiring a biz dev artist or a concept designer. Make sure if that's what you do, you are separating yourself, that you are breaking up your concept design portfolio into just BG location and BG paint. Separate those. Don't put characters in the scenes. Don't try to tell the story. Don't do all that stuff. Break it up because they're not looking for those positions. That might be more on the development side where they're looking for those artists, all right, on that front. So that's going to be just another very important thing. Okay, and then I just want to tell you just really quick, I want to just show you, because again, this will answer just a lot of your questions. I do just want to show you a couple of great examples of portfolios just so that you have this in mind on what to do. So I'm just going to share my screen with you here. All right, and I promise we'll open up things. Oh, I just want to let you know before I do that, if you guys anyone's interested in having a portfolio review for me, and you actually want me to look over your work, if you go to my silverjournacademy.com and you just go up here, you can go to portfolio review, and I'll be able to give you guys a one-on-one 30-minute portfolio review session just to help show you where you should be building up your portfolio and what to really make sure to put in, to take out, because that's going to be just very important. So I wanted to share that with you, okay? And that's just at silverjournacademy.com. And so what I want to just show you is, let me just show you these portfolios here. This is an artist who I helped put together, a friend of mine who I just helped kind of like him in the sense revamping his portfolio. And he's a great artist, showrunner, executive producer. So something that's very important, again, he's had a lot of industry experience. So for any of you guys who are in this room or are going to watch this on YouTube later, is if you have industry experience, I think it's extremely helpful to show your industry experience straight off the bat. Don't have a homepage that doesn't lead you in, right? So what you're doing is it's a lead in. It's just kind of like having that opening line. It's like that elevator pitch where you get to say right away without saying anything who you are and what you've done. So you want to put here your name, and maybe you're going to put that you're a character designer or you're a board artist, and what sort of board artist are you? Are you just scripted? Is that something that you do? Or you're a prop designer, whatever it may be. And then you can just grab a poster of all the different shows that you may have worked on, right? He's worked on a lot of things, been in the industry a long time, where right away, boom, right away that experience is determined. Okay, so you might not have this, and I'm going to show you other things that you can do if you don't have this. For those of you guys who want to do storyboards, extremely important to make sure that you guys, which is very helpful, is using Speaker Deck or the Google Slides that you have. It's called Speaker Deck, Slide Deck, or Google Slides. The great thing about this is you don't need to make your own animatic. People don't have time to watch a 2-minute short or a minute and a half. As short as that sounds, They just don't have time. So the recruiter, they're experienced as well, and they know what they're looking at, can go through like this, and I can just at my own pace, I could just move through this. And what I can look for is continuity. I can look at staging. I can look at that setup. I can look at acting. I can look at all these things that I know a director wants to see. Well, that director really wants to see just a lot of acting. They want to know that you know how to do that and perform that character. Other directors say, you know, what's missing is in storyboards is perspective. They're not drawing the perspective and they're not thinking about that, right? So there's those things. So right away you can see what an artist is capable of, you know, through there. And then if you want to, you can add an animatic underneath it. You can even add just a bunch of just your rough sketches, you know, so you just see a whole sheet that looks like this, right? Little thumbnails. If you want, you can add that just so that that director can see it as a glance. And sometimes directors don't even want to see sound. They just want to see, does the character move, and do they get what's going on without any sound? And that's, of course, that's what's going to make a great character design as well, that you don't have to explain who that character is. You can, or that you don't even hear a voice of that character. You just see that character and know that they're this is who that character is. So this is just a great way just to put together. Again, always make sure you have your email, you know, out, your about and your resume. Make sure that you, once again, just have your resume and have it a clickable PDF version, because this is something recruiter needs to grab. They need to click on that and grab that URL and put that in the Excel sheet. That's going to be for the producers, so the producers can look at that. You're going to have the contact information, all right? Once again, your email. Throw your email everywhere. Make sure you don't just have a contact information where you have to fill it in. I got to put in my name and everything and hit submit and wait for you to get back to me. I need to grab that email straight away. So that's something that's going to be just very important. All right. The next portfolio that I want to show you is another talented artist, Micah Sheriff. And just again, just really great work. And this is another way that I encourage you, if you do multiple things, make sure that you can have multiple things, right? But you got your resume, you got your about, but she's doing story, comics, characters, props, illustrations. So that way, when you click on that and you just click on that, the best thing you always want to be able to show is a gallery show. Make it really clear. Show that gallery, as opposed to having those websites where you just have a big image and you got an arrow and then you got all those little images down here where I can't really see what it is. Just make sure that you have it nice, a gallery show like Instagram, where you can just go through it and see everything that you need to see straight away. Something that I highly recommend that you don't use, although I appreciate it and like it, is ArtStation. ArtStation is a great website, but on a recruiting front, it's terrible. Why it's terrible? And I found it terrible because on ArtStation, not only is all your competition on there as well, but on ArtStation, you're going to have all these images and it might show something, but oftentimes they're not in order. They're all over the place, to where maybe you have an illustration and faces and caricature, and all of a sudden you got a backdrop or a building or something here, and then you got another face here and a prop over here. So, and then when you click on it, all of a sudden you click on it and you start to see, oh my God, there's like 5 other images below that are telling me even more about that character. So I don't get to see it all up front. Once again, you got to put all that information up front. The more information you show up front, the easier it is for that recruiter just to see what it is that they're looking at. So that's going to be another major thing. And another thing that I just want to mention, again, might go a little bit more than an hour, okay, because I want to answer questions, but make sure that you are organizing your portfolio. Imagine going into a restaurant and all of a sudden you look at that restaurant menu and you have hors d'oeuvres, desserts, your drinks all blended together. They're every single, your hors d'oeuvres, menu, drinks, everything is all under here, all mixed in there. You want to avoid that with your portfolio. Like I mentioned, people will have their characters and then they mix it in with their props and their illustrations. Make sure that you're showing everything together. So you might have all your characters here. Again, if you want to do props, separate it, but even in your characters, keep your styles together and consistent. Maybe I've designed a lineup of characters and I'm showing all these characters. I got my lineup, I got my turnaround, I got my expressions, I got all these things. Make sure that they're all together, and then you're doing a whole different style. Maybe this is an action adventure style. Maybe you're going to show a preschool style. Put all your preschool style together. Put your real cartoony stuff together. So organize it all together, and that's something that, once again, you got to be a chameleon. You have to draw in multiple styles. That's going to be very important. And a little bit before I answer questions here, a little tip that I would say: if you get wind of a production that is hiring and you know what that show is going to be, let's just say, hey, we're looking for background layout artists for Phineas and Ferb, and you do background layout art, what I would do before you submit your application is try to do a couple of backgrounds of a Phineas and Ferb style. Don't copy something that's already been done. Create your own version in that style and just put it to the top of your portfolio. So right away, that recruiter, if they got a trained eye, will be able to see that, oh my God, that's like a perfect fit for that style. So as a recruiter, that's what I did. I always studied the style before I started picking my candidates to throw in there. And once again, the biggest reason people don't get hired is because it's not a style fit. It's just the wrong match. They feel like they were almost there, and it might be that personality that comes across in the interview while they might not do that. All right. So with that said, I'm going to want to take any questions. Again, I just want to mention, if any of you guys want a one-on-one 30-minute portfolio review where I can tell you what to put in, take out, just go to silverjohnacademy.com, go to the Get Started, and go to portfolio review, and we can set up a time together. All right. Let me just go here and stop my share screen. And now I'd like to open it up for some questions. What I need you to do is just raise your hand, and I'll ask questions. Make sure the questions are pertaining to what we've been discussing and the portfolio. Okay, let's start with Anubhav. Go ahead. You're on mute, Anubhav.
Me?
Oh,
Hello.
no, Anubhav. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hello, Stephen.
Oh, sorry. I got Anubhav Saini. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, Stephen.
Hello.
I would like to ask you a question.
Yes.
Hello. You mentioned something about separating concept art portfolio from character designing. What was that?
So just
Can you explain it to me more?
yeah, so a lot of artists are submitting portfolios that are just concept design or visual development, and they have that in their title. And just know that a lot of these television animation studios are not hiring concept artists or visual development artists. They want specific, they're looking for
Mhm.
that background painter, or they're looking for that background layout artist, where a visual development portfolio or concept
Yeah.
design portfolio will end up having
Mhm.
just too much of that other information in there that they just don't need to see. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, Anubhav. All right. Let's go to Megan McLaughlin. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephen. First
Hello.
off, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this Q&A session. I feel like personally for me that helps so much. And I guess one of my big questions is, so for me, my animation journey, I have been from going through an animation program, and of course COVID happened right in the middle of the senior thesis where our film wasn't complete. However, I was able to collab with another school. But anyway, for people who are, still going through the post-pandemic and trying to get their start in their animation careers, while a lot of applications are going on and stuff, do you feel like it's a good idea to continue to experiment and continue to do different styles as you're waiting, as a way to keep improving your skill?
Yeah, absolutely. Always. You're always going to be updating your portfolio. And sometimes what I would even do, I would put some of my older artwork in my portfolio because it showed a different style as I evolved. And you look at a lot of primetime shows, right, where sometimes the style could be a little bit more crude in its drawing and development, to where that style that you used to do might be something they're actually looking for. So it's okay, but always the most important thing is really building up your drawing chops and your foundation. You always want to be working on your construction. You always want to be just working on just improving that. The biggest thing that I would see in a lot of portfolios, especially character designers, they would sometimes have great ideas, but the overall just construction of their characters or the feeling was just missing. There was no life in them. Otherwise, they weren't really strong at constructing to get good expressions and attitudes, or their turnarounds weren't strong enough. And you don't need to do a turnaround for every single character. You only need about 2 to 3 good turnarounds in your portfolio. Just make sure they're all different styles. Again, then you're not doing a turnaround of 3 characters that look like they're the same style, but absolutely constantly keep working. And you can also look at a lot of different shows out there. Go to Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, Disney, Nickelodeon. Go to their websites. Look at all the shows that they're producing. And then don't produce fan art, but produce artwork of characters, build up worlds of characters or environments that fit in that style. That's going to help you automatically adapt and create a whole new style, and plus training you to create a new style. Because every time you come on a new show, you have a learning curve that this is what you have to do. You got to figure out that show style if you've never worked on it. But if you're a solid draftsman, and you can, you understand perspective, construction, all these things, you're going to be able to adapt. But in order to beef up your portfolio, I would absolutely make sure, try to mimic as many other styles as possible without even saying it. You don't need to say this is a Simpsons style. You don't need to say that this is a Phineas and Ferb style. It's going to be apparent, right? But you've done your own interpretation, so where you're not stealing someone else's artwork. And another thing I want to say for all you guys out there, if you want to be a color designer, you're really good at color, but you're no good at drawing your designs or doing props, you can always reach out to artists that are professionals in the industry and ask them, hey, I'm a colored stylist or I'm a background painter, but I don't draw backgrounds and I want to paint your background. Can I paint your background, or can I color your character? But I will give you credit in my portfolio. So you could say designed by Steven Silver, paint by you, right? So you're putting that in there because that's what you're doing all day long anyway. On a production, you're coloring and painting someone else's work anyway. So it's not you're not going to be overlooked. And it's, as long as you're giving that artist credit and saying that it's not their design, then you're going to be okay. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Yeah, you bet. Let's go to Danica, and then we'll go to Joshua. Go ahead, Danica.
Hi, Stephen. You mentioned earlier that getting into production assistance is like the entry-level role, and that is what I'm aiming to do right now. I just wanted to ask what kind of transferable skills you can highlight on your resume to stand out for things like that, because the only experience that I have are like experience from when I did animation internships when I was in college, and also customer service skills while working at a fast food restaurant and, at retail.
Right. So those are the things, right? So I think it's really highlighting your customer service skills, and that mentioning you've done that internship, and just mentioning that this is an area of production you really want to get into, and this is what excites you, and giving reasons as to why it excites you. And these are things that will be very helpful, but that having that experience is what they're going to look at. And you got to keep in mind, in the recruiting side, there's different recruiters. So I was an art and story recruiter, so I'm just responsible for looking at anything art and story. And then you got the production recruiters, and that's where they're hiring the people. So they're looking at the resumes. They're not looking at art and really want to see that. Again, it could be anything. Maybe you've done something for your local school, your local church. It could be anything, just to pad it up as much as you can. And then just trying to connect with them. Where can you try to connect? Can you reach out to them through LinkedIn somehow and send them a private message, and not just sending them a message that goes, hi, here's my resume, but actually giving a little introduction. Again, you're not writing a huge long paragraph, but just something a little small, and showing how personable you are, making sure that all your spelling, everything is really correct. You've dotted your I's, you've crossed your T's. That's going to be vital because they want to know that your writing skill is there. So all these little things are going to be just very important. So get some eyeballs to look at your resume, people who are better at grammar. If maybe you might be great at it, but maybe you got to get that someone, hey, can you just look at this before I submit it? But they're going to be looking for that too. If they see misspelled words, they don't want that. That's going to be an indication that you're not thorough or that you're not double checking something. Right. So it's all these little things. Oh, they don't double check. So, how can I trust that person to send that email off to that producer? Right. So think about things like that. Okay. But yeah, just that's what I would recommend. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I also have another question.
Yeah.
I reached out to a recruiter recently, and she did ghost me, but she took the time to look at my LinkedIn profile. So I'm just wondering why she was able to take the time to look at my profile, but not to respond to me.
Yeah, I think and what happens is if they're going to do that, how many different people have written at that point, and then it's just becomes selective. Maybe you've had 50 other people. Again, it's not, just always remember, don't take it personal. That's always going to be the most important thing that you can remember. When we get ghosted, again, we got to accept this in life, that this is going to happen, but try not to take it personal. It's like if an actor doesn't get selected for a role or an artist doesn't get selected, you just know that who knows what's going on in their day, who knows how many meetings they've had to attend. You just don't know. But I think don't give up there. If they've ghosted you, you can still reach out again at another point. Again, not maybe the next day, but just as a follow-up and just seeing if you can connect with them again. Like I said, if it's been 3 times, 4 times and they haven't connected you, you kind of got to let those things go. And for whatever reason, it was that reason, and they might be looking for something just real specific. And the fact that you saw that they looked at your profile, maybe there was something missing in there and they just wanted to see that you had studio experience and realize that you don't have any studio experience, because that comes into play too, right? It's sort of this catch-22 and this horrible thing where people go, we need you to have studio experience. And you go, well, how do I get studio experience until I get studio experience? I'm just starting out. And it's not until that one time when it does happen and you got that little bit of studio experience, that's all they need to hear. But that's what might be the cause of it. Okay.
I see. Thank you so much.
Okay, you bet. All right, let's go to Joshua and then we'll go to Daniel Napoli. All right, go ahead, Joshua.
Okay. Well, I have questions within myself. I'm sort of in a stump actually. I graduated from Drexel College and I just sort of got lost, I think. Like I tried to I'm a 3D animator, yet I didn't do any animation for like a few months, and I'm just like, oh no, I need to do animation. But I was just trying to do job searching and it's just not helping a lot. And my mom and dad support me, but sometimes they just want me to get a job instantly. I'm just like, I can't. I'm trying to find myself a job.
Yeah, well, Joshua, I mean, here's the reality. This is something that, again, it's not going to be quick. And that's what everyone needs to realize is you're trying to get into the animation industry. And if you don't have that experience straight away and you're just coming out of school, again, there's a lot of students that get hired in the animation industry. But if it doesn't happen straight away, this is where it's not going to happen straight away. And you got to start looking at other ways that you could potentially. Again, most importantly, what do you love? What do you love to do? If you love animating, you have to animate. Don't wait to be hired. You got to create your own YouTube channel, show your own YouTube, start to show the process. You might be creating working on your own comics, your own books, doing something else. You cannot wait in line for people to hire us. You got to just keep moving all the time and then making sure that you're reaching out. But it's not going to be easy. And I'll tell you, at Disney, this is, they don't hire animators. You cannot hire so many of these studios. Everything is done overseas. It's done in the Philippines. It's done in India. It's done in all these other countries. So it's very important for you guys to realize if you want to do animation, you're not going to get hired as an animator on a television studio production unless maybe you're doing like a studio like Titmouse, where they might be doing flash animation or using Toon Boom Harmony, and they're doing animations in-house, or feature animation where they're doing 3D animation, but it's done in-house. You got to understand that animation jobs, actual animating, are very far and few. So just keep that in mind. Okay.
All right. Thank you. I'm just trying to get out of my stump,
Yeah. Well, keep going. Again, keep working on your stuff, right? Find that focus. But thanks, Dan, Joshua. Let's go to Daniel up there. Daniel Napoli, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Stephen. Thanks again for your time. Really appreciate this.
My pleasure.
So what I like to do is just kind of run a strategy by you that I'm considering as far as application for a character designer.
Okay.
So I applied for a character design role for a TV show. It's a style that I definitely don't have on display in my portfolio yet, but this gave me an idea. What I could do is build out, say, a character lineup. Say, example characters known from a movie. Say, like I want to do a cast of characters from Dune, say, and match the style of this show, and then post this on social media. Hopefully, it doesn't go unnoticed. Just a thought, just an idea. I'm wondering how that sounds to you, or if you think that there's better ways I could spend my time in.
No, I think that's great because doing this, you're actually developing, right? You're growing, you're learning, you're challenging yourself. So that's a great challenge to give to yourself to do that. And also putting it up there to where they can see that, hey, this is pretty close. If that right person gets to see your portfolio, that's a very helpful thing. Again, I've known quite a few people getting jobs with this strategy. Putting that work up to the top that looks like that show style, which makes them instantly go, hey, this person can do this job. So that's what I would do. And you just want to show that production side. So don't just make sure you show development. It's okay to show development sketches. Here's 5 different variations of this specific character. This is what I settled on. Make sure that you're showing production side to where you're showing maybe a turnaround of one of those characters. Maybe you're going to show some expressions of one of those characters or special poses of those characters. So you might do that. You might have some costume changes in there, right? So this is all the production stuff that people want to see. They want to see that you've done production, even if you haven't, that you understand production. That means you might even show a mouth chart of a character in there, right? So showing that, I think that's a great strategy.
Okay, great. So just play with it and don't be afraid to share, like early iterative.
Absolutely. And make sure you just have fun, all right?
That's part of it too.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Let's go to Calliope. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name there. Go ahead.
It's Calliope.
Oh, Calliope. All right.
Hello. So, I am beginner's animated, but just about to recently be graduating from the school, and I still haven't improved in my animating skills. So, is there any places where I can improve on to build a strong portfolio for my animation?
So are you wanting to do actual animation? Is that?
I'm interested in 2D.
I'm sorry, 2D?
Yes.
Hold on. There's someone. I think my wife or someone's on the thing and it's talking. That been there. So just if you're wanting to do 2D, yeah, this is going to be again sort of like tricky, where there's a lot more studios that are hiring more in European studios doing something like that, but doing actual 2D traditional, you can. I feel like in this world now, what you can do is if that's something you really love and you want to do, you're going to have to start trying to attract smaller clients, right? So it's not necessarily, you're not going to get into Disney television animation as a 2D animated. That's not going to happen, but you could work potentially for a company that's looking to create a little 2D image for their clothing company, or it could be a school or something, right? There could be these other areas where I would build up that portfolio, but now you got to start going through different websites like what are this? So a lot of those different websites where they're like freelancer websites where they'll say that we're looking for to hire a 2D animator. Make sure even on LinkedIn you're going to see different posts like that, to where you can put in job search or go to glassdoor.com or Indeed and put in 2D animator, so you get notified of any 2D animator positions, and that's the sort of stuff that I would do. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you bet. All right, let's go to Carla Cruz. Hi, Carla.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for this space. I wanted to ask about animators that are international. I'm currently applying to internships, and I can't really leave my country at the moment. So I was wondering if studios are looking to work with artists remotely, or if they'll go out of their way to bring them on site.
Yeah, so yeah, doing international again gets tricky if you're trying to work with the studio in the United States because they're wanting that sort of work authorization and even on an internship, front. So it's something that I would absolutely start locally where you are, and sometimes the studios like Disney would have those whether you're either currently out of school, otherwise I believe it was you might be 6 months out of school, up to 6 months. There's like certain windows of what that is on the internship front that you got to apply for. But it's going to be, again, it's difficult to again, you can always reach out to individual artists as well, and because you never know, maybe they're looking for some help in some area, and you can say, hey, I'm looking just to beef up my resume and my portfolio, and I can offer this sort of help for you for a few weeks or a month, whatever it may be. And if it's something you're comfortable with, there's artists that absolutely do that, or just smaller studios. But I always encourage, especially if you're out of the United States, try to start as local as possible. Don't always worry about going for the big companies as much as just starting with the smaller companies. It could be a commercial studio, could be an advertising studio, right? It could be an animation studio. So look at different industries to see if where you can get some help in that area. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, you bet. All right, let's go to Paola. Oh, I don't hear you. No, no. If you figure it out, I'll come back to you. Okay. Otherwise, if you're able just to ask in the chat, and then maybe I can try to go see it there. All right. Let's go to Zach.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks again for this opportunity.
My pleasure.
Oh, okay. Well, I did kind of want to ask, one question is, how do you deal with studios or recruiters that kind of have like conflicting opinions of like what to keep in your portfolio? Like, say for one example, you said to have like a good variety of pieces of like styles and artworks, and then like, but then you apply like another one. They said, "Oh, you've got too much variety. We just want like one strong, consistent style." Or like how you said not to do like fan work, but they also want, but then like another studio says, "We want to see you doing like you should. We suggest you probably doing like a recreate like your own interpretation of like this movie or this show or something like that."
Yeah, so on the fan aspect, you can absolutely create. What I'm saying is, try. You're never stealing or taking someone else's artwork, but you absolutely can show a fan artwork interpretation of an idea, but just don't let it be your whole portfolio, because a lot of these studios are rebranding shows that have come out before. So when they see a different take or a different look, that can be very helpful to show that. So it's okay to do that. Again, just make sure you're doing your own poses, your own expressions, that you're not just taking it from someone else, and you're reinventing the style just a little bit. So that's something that you can do. On the variety front, what I will say is, if you're trying to get a job as an illustrator and that's your goal, it's very important to have a specific strong style. They need to make sure, the art director needs to make sure that they're getting Zach every single time they hire you. Some animation studios, maybe that's what they ask for, but in honesty, it's the wrong approach. So I would not follow that advice. If I was going for an animation studio, no, every show is different. And if all they see is one style and they're not doing that style, game over for you. You don't even have a chance at all. But maybe you're applying to a studio that they do have one strong style that they do, right? Maybe that's a studio and they're doing animated children's books of a frog, maybe the frog, Leapfrog, let's just say Leapfrog. There's a company, and everything that they do is based around their Leapfrog, and it's all very specific to one style. Well, yeah, I'd want to show that consistency that you can do, but they're going to want to see in your portfolio, can you do the Leapfrog style, right? So I would make sure that if you're moving into animation, be a chameleon. If you're going solely into illustration, get specific, get a strong style, so the art directors know exactly what they're going to get every time. All right.
All right. Thanks. That's actually the best explanation I've heard about that question.
All right, great. Well, thanks. Great question, Zach. Thank you. All right, let's go to Steve. Hold on, let me just see if I can. Oh, Paula said, "Hi, Stephen. My question is, what can I do if I want to apply to two different positions? I'm a 3D mid animator, but I also have experience back in my country as a production coordinator. My worry is when I get asked for my LinkedIn, mine is specifically for animation. Should I create another LinkedIn profile for production of what?" Yeah, I actually would. I would create a separate LinkedIn profile showcasing that, and here's why. There's a lot of people trying to get into production. They actually want to be artists, and they say they want to get into production, and they go into the production only for the people, once they get hired, for the production team to realize this person really cares about being an artist. And look at them, they're spending all this time with the artist and asking artists questions. They want to know you're in production for the right reasons. So if they see that that's where your main focus is for that production, that's going to be very helpful. I remember those stories distinctively from when I was at Nickelodeon, where the recruiters would say, yeah, some of these people, they're trying to pretend they want to be production, but they don't really want to be production. They really want to be artists. So that's where I would maybe separate something. Okay. All right. All right. But let's go to Steve Lawson.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. So my question, thank you, by the way, for doing this. My question is kind of related to Zach's, but specifically about story portfolio stuff. So I've had a few chats with different recruiters, been on other webinars and things, and one of the main areas in which I've heard conflicting advice is to do with extra bits and pieces in story portfolios. For example, life drawing, extra kind of character drawings and things. What is your position on kind of ideal supplementary materials to include in story portfolios, if any?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you, while I was at Disney on a couple different productions, one was The Proud Family and one was Big City Greens. On The Proud Family, what they love to see your, especially Bruce, love to see your life drawings. Bruce Smith, the creator of the show, love to see the life drawings, love to see your sketchbook artwork on the side, because they get to see you. They get to see a different side of you. So I always think it's important to show that on your portfolio. You can have that supplemental personal sketches, personal drawings. And on Big City Greens, for the storyboard artists, they love to see if someone did their own personal comics. That was important. They knew they had their own voice and they were trying to show something. So if they saw people were a comic artist and did their own comics, that was very helpful for them. So seeing actually the supplemental stuff that you do, put it in there. Just make sure that you separate. Again, you can have your storyboards and then you can have your personal work or in your comics, another section, but give that recruiter, or more importantly, give that showrunner or art director that ability just to see the other things that you do outside of just your storyboard work, because there might be something there that's very attractive to them.
Great. That's super useful. Thank you.
All right. You bet. All right. Let's go to Murat. Go ahead, Murat. And then we'll go to Matthew and then Carolyn after that.
Yes. Hi there. So I'm interested in a character design position. And what I notice sometimes in when applying is that they don't always explain what show it's for.
Right.
So I'm kind of wanted to know what style should I just emulate the style for, or of all the latest shows that the company has produced? Would that be better for me to do?
Well, the big thing is that versatility, but what I would want to show, again, you can do things like that, but I would want to show that I can do primetime looking style, that I could do a preschool looking style, that I could do an action adventure sort of style, that I could do a sort of real cartoony, wacky cartoony style. And then when you look at that studio specifically, you can look across that form and you can see, oh yeah, they do preschool, like Disney does preschool. They do more of that action adventure sort of stuff. So they do a wide range. And then Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network has their things. Maybe Cartoon Network's doing characters that are more with, rubber hose arms and more sort of like wacky kind of style, right? So showing, that's why having that versatility is going to be huge, and looking at all these different show styles to help you create a new show style is very helpful. And that's why you want to look at it. Oh, I don't have any characters that have the real fire hose arm style. Oh, I don't have any characters that are real straight against curve, like a Fairly Odd Parents sort of style. I don't have something like that. I need to add something like that. Otherwise, I'm missing preschool. And one of those, for any of the people out there that want to do like storyboards, especially for preschool, one of the biggest reasons people weren't getting hired, the directors want to see that you can do preschool, because preschool, you got to shove maybe 6 or 7 characters in one scene. And do you have the ability to do that? Can you do that and move those characters around? So they want to know that you got preschool experience. But that's where I would go. Just, get as much versatility of show genre and style genre in your portfolio, especially as a character designer and prop designer and background painter and background layout artist. And all the designer positions are going to be important to be versatile. Yeah. Storyboards too. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
You bet. All right, let's go to Matthew and then we'll go to Carolyn. Go ahead, Matthew.
Hey, Stephen.
Hello.
Just want to say thank you for holding this session. And I'm sorry I don't have a camera. I don't have one with my setup at the moment.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. So I graduated from college like a couple of years ago in something completely unrelated to art. And since then I made a YouTube channel and I've started working in 3D modeling software, specifically Blender, and I've just fallen in love with it and I love everything about it and I want to make it like my life. But the problem that I face is that because I wasn't doing anything related to art in college, I never really like met any people or made connections. So do you have any advice for doing that as someone who like didn't do any of that in my days in college?
Sure. I mean, I think the most important thing you can do is like you're doing here. You showed up today, right? Just being in things like this, keeping your ears and eyes open for these sort of opportunities, but making sure you're going to industry sort of events where you have even like there's an organization. Well, number one thing I want to just give a highlight and shout out to Lightbox Expo. Is a great organization and a great convention just to show up to and be a part of. But also there's things like ASIFA Hollywood, where that's an industry base where people can join, students can join, and you can get discounts for your membership and you can show up to events and screenings and you start to meet people there. And that's what it's all about. Keep putting yourself in front of these sort of industry events just to try to meet people, make sure you're joining networking groups or online communities through LinkedIn, through Facebook, whatever it may be, and just really do your due diligence, finding as much out about this, doing what it is that you want to do and seeing what communities are out there based around what it is that you want to do. And that's what it is. It's all about showing up to these things. And that's what's going to get you to the forefront and just being seen and getting a better understanding of what's required. And you never know who you're going to meet. And that's the beautiful thing about this life is every day we just don't know who we're going to meet, how we're going to meet them, when we're going to meet them, why we're going to meet them. It just, as long as we have that belief and as long as we just keep putting ourselves out there and again, getting these emails on newsletters, like I said, Cartoon Brew, Animation Magazine, AWN, Animation World Network, these sort of websites, and being associated with them, you start to hear about industry things and then make sure that you're getting notified for any sort of Blender sort of jobs that you want and doing what it is that you're doing, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, let's go to Carolyn and then we'll go to Duong and then Chelsea. All right, go ahead, Carolyn.
Hi, my camera is not working, but I am going to pop up on my sister's screen, which is Catherine Spangenberg.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
Hi. So, it's kind of two questions. My first one is, well, I graduated recently from a university that with a degree that is art related. It is not animation related though, and but I did my last big project on an animatic. So I went into it blindly, and I did get a good grade and everything, but I pretty much didn't know exactly how to do a really well job, except on comparing it with other people's works on animatics. I'm not sure what I should put into my portfolio, how I should put it in there. That one animatic I've done. I like doing storyboarding.
Okay.
But I was not sure how to put that into a format that would be interesting for recruiters.
Yeah.
And how to I mean, you just explained about that program, Speaker Deck?
Yeah, Speaker Deck. Yep. So you're
Speaker
using
Deck?
Speaker Decks or Slide Deck. So that's the best way. And just having one animatic isn't going to cut it anyway. In your portfolio, for a storyboard portfolio, ideally you want to have at least about 5 minimum different storyboards that you've created and showing different genres, right? So you might be showing that you've done a real, it could be a prime time sort of look. It could be a preschool look, right? All those things that I've mentioned. And then if you want, you can have the animatics, but they're not as necessary as much as having that speaker deck or that slide deck just to go through. So don't put all your focus and attention, and just to have one just won't do it anyway. So you have to do multiple.
So I should best put in like parts of those storyboards, multiple parts of it in different slides, if I say it like
Well,
that.
yeah, right. So they could just make sure that it's not just that same storyboard, right? So you've got multiple different storyboards and with different characters. This one is very heavy on acting. This one is more about a nice tender moment, and I just want to show something. This one's more about humor. So I'm showing something that has a little bit more humor in it, right? This one's more action adventure, flips, sword fights, something, could be anything like that. So you just got to be able to show your strength in that versatility through the storyboards. And it all comes down to the acting and the movement. Some boards you want to show that you can put characters on model consistently, right? Because that's going to be the requirement. On some shows are going to want all those drawings to look like the same character. Other storyboards, you don't need to put the character on model, where you're just kind of drawing more of a loose interpretation. You know which character it is, but you don't have all the details. So you want to show that you can do those, right? So where there's like story driven or script driven, what sort of board artist are you? Because sometimes shows will say, hey, you got to you're going directly off a script, and you got to do verbatim what's on the script. And other ones will say we want more story driven, where you're just kind of creating it out. You just got a loose tagline, so to speak, and you're the one who's doing all the writing technically as you're doing it. So you want to show that variety. Okay.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You bet. Let's go to Duong. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
I'm Duong. I have a question more about like your experience. So I was just wondering like, if you were still working as an artist while being a recruiter for Disney, and if you like plan on keeping a recruiter in the future. I just want to hear your experience because I have experience working in production. I really love working in production, but I also want to keep honing on my art skills and like freelance on the side. And I am totally, completely focused on my production work while I'm at work. I don't bother the artist,
Right.
but I find myself being a better artist working in production because I see all of their professional work. I read all of the art director's notes, and I know what they're expecting. So I feel like being in production is very rewarding, and I'm sure being a recruiter probably helps you as an artist as well. So I just want to know, like, how did you balance being an artist and a recruiter at the same time if you keep wanting to be a recruiter in the future?
Yeah, for me, again, it was just real rewarding. I love seeing all these portfolios that I got to see that I never thought, all these great new artists I got to discover. So that was so rewarding for me. And yeah, I was always drawing on the side, always going to life drawing still every single week. I mean, I'm always an artist and will never stop being an artist. And the recruiting was just another facet for me to really learn about this whole different side as I keep gaining knowledge in all these different industries I've been a part of. So my role is, I like just my whole life is my whole purpose is teaching and sharing my knowledge. So all my love and all my heart is put into my Silver Drawn Academy, and I'm doing workshops and sharing my recruiting knowledge, and that's what it is now. So I look at this experience that I had as a recruiter. I don't think that I could work just as a recruiter and only do that ever. That could never be. Even while I was a recruiter, I still had my school and was still running my school and still doing all that. So it was kind of an amazing thing that I even had that opportunity to be doing that. But just, yeah, the art for me is something I'll never stop doing. The recruiting, I'm still always going to kind of do that in the back end, but maybe it's going to be more on my own agency and starting. But that's how I think. I feel like I could open and start my own art agency and start, because I know so many artists, and I could have this recruiting agency on the side and offer this to the studio. So that's in my cards, potentially, of doing something as opposed to just working for one studio. So who knows? But yeah, you always keep doing the art. And I love that as you're in this position that you're looking at those notes and you're paying attention, keep drawing, keep working on it. And eventually, because you're in that position, you got your ears, you can hear, oh, they're looking for a designer or something, where you can apply for those positions potentially as they come up. But yeah, that's kind of my experience.
Yeah, that's really awesome that you're creating your own recruiting studio. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
my pleasure.
And thank you for holding this session. I've learned so much.
Oh, awesome. So happy to hear that. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. Let's go to Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Chelsea, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much, Stephen, for not gatekeeping and showing your insights and expertise. I really appreciate that, and I think everybody in this space really does. So thank you. I am very fortunate that I have a second interview with Disney TVA for an internship on production side of things. And so I was just wondering, for me, I'm someone who aspires to work in production management. I want to see myself 5 years from now, being able to be in the same space as executives and seeing how everything works. Yeah. So do you have any tips for me as I approach the second interview?
I think doing exactly what you just did right now and sharing your really love and your passion for it and what you want to become and where you want to see this going, that you want to move into this area, I think is beautiful. And I think that's what they want to see. They want to see your enthusiasm. They want to see your passion. They want to see you've got a beautiful smile, just like you got to show that stuff, right? Just show and have any questions that, do you know who you're going into the interview with? Have they given you the names of the people you're going into the interview with?
I'm not sure, but I assume because it's with the current series.
Okay.
And I actually found the job through the LinkedIn of the current series coordinator. So I assume it's with them.
Okay. So if you got their names, just even if you go to their LinkedIn, look and learn a little bit about them, see what their experience is. Maybe you find something in there that they had the same sort of similar job as you, that you can bring that up in the meeting. It's just like, I noticed that you had done this before and that was fascinating. Again, just give that, just act interested, be there, make that eye contact, just try to, as much as you can on Zoom. But again, that enthusiasm that you showed for your love of production and wanting to be in an executive role to oversee it and how much this excites you is the best thing you can do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right, let's go to, I just want to take some people that we haven't seen yet. Where are we? So let me do Eric, and then do Catherine, and then Nick and Anubhav. If you have a question, I'll come back to you, okay? Let's go to Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So I'm a character designer, and I was considering also making a tab on my website to show some prop design work as well. Now, my question was, I I was considering, excuse me, the possibility of maybe also showing some color work just to show that, I'm capable of doing that kind of work as well. Would you say that's something that would be suitable to make just a separate tab for on my current website, or would you say that's something I should probably make just a completely separate website for?
Well, I wouldn't make a separate website. And the color work, are you talking about just coloring your characters?
Yeah, color styles for like
Oh, okay.
characters, props, all that stuff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you can just throw that in with your regular character designs. Just make sure that everything isn't all cleaned up and all colored. Again, you're
Yeah.
showing that ability, but show your roughs, show your cleanup, show your color, but I wouldn't have a separate style for that. If you were
Okay.
wanting to do color stylist and that was a job you want to do character design, I might have a tab that says character design and it still show all that, but actually have another tab on your website that says color stylist and just then throw all the color characters that you've done in there because maybe that separate URL, you just see they're hiring a color stylist that you can just grab that URL and send that to the recruiter so that they can
Okay.
see that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, let's go to Catherine and then we'll go to Nick and then Anubhav. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hello, thank you. First of all, thank you. Thanks a bunch for this and taking the time for everybody of us that has a question and doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I am since 2017. I've started in the industry. I've been getting jobs. I do work in 2D animation and also have had some leading positions in animation and cleanup. But I want to at some point step up my game and really get into the direction part of it. What do you see, or what do you think would go into a direction, or how, I don't know how to get into those type of positions, or how to kind of get the experience for the more project-based experience in that? Well, how do you think it would be the best way to approach it?
Right.
That's kind of more my question to it.
Yeah, no, the best way to move into a director role in animation on the production side is you got to be able to do storyboards, right? So you can't be a director if you don't do storyboards.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's just about maybe just creating that. You're creating at that point your own animatic, right? So you're going to want to show that reel that you have that ability. But if you want to be a director more in an art director role, then you just got to, or they're more painters. They're showing their background paint, more painters. So that's really what it is. You just got to determine that you want to, I want to be a director. You got to just build up those, a lot of animatics, show that you understand the timing, show that you understand the pacing, and just also having those good drawing chops and ability, because you're going to be able to, you got to be working with people and fixing things and making notes. And so you got to just be able to show that. And most people move into the director roles. Usually the way I've seen it is always just leverage. They're coming in and they're doing storyboards and they get recognized as a terrific storyboard artist, and and they let them know to their director, hey, someday I'd love to direct. Let it be known to people that that's what you want to do. Write it on your portfolio, on your website. A director, just kind of put it out there in the universe. And then sometimes it's what it is. They'll recognize your talent and your ability, and they say, hey, we got a director slot coming. You're a great board artist, and they can move you into that role. So that's usually, you're kind of starting from the bottom, building your way up. It's very rare that just someone is coming straight as a director into a role without someone really seeing all their experience beforehand.
No, of course. Okay, thank you. Thanks a bunch. That helps.
Pleasure. Thank you. All right, let's go to Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Awesome. Thanks again, Stephen. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk a little bit about in-person connections and conventions specifically. I've, done the LinkedIn typing, reaching out to recruiters, but this is my first year going to I'm trying to get to a in-person connection event. I know CTN Animation Expo and Lightbox Expo are two big ones. But I guess two-part question. What would be the convention that, if you would recommend one at better than the others for making those kind of long-term connections, and what do you think would be good as far as diversity in bringing for a character design portfolio to bring to the convention if there was a possibility to network, there in person?
Yeah, just first, when ever you're showcasing anything, I recommend, if you have an iPad, is ideal. To show off your work, or if it's on your phone, just make sure that everything's working and there's no cracked screens or anything like that. and then just really just showcasing, once again, they're going to want to see that versatility. If you meet up with any sort of recruiters, or you meet people who work in the animation industry, a director, right? You can get their advice, or a character design, or any other position that you want to get into. You can meet them. Lightbox is a far better convention than CTN. Believe CTN's fallen to the wayside. It's collapsing, and a lot of studios aren't even showing up there anymore. Disney doesn't even have a booth there anymore. So be very careful if you're going to be spending your money to go to that. I'd probably wouldn't, and would put my money towards Lightbox Expo. Again, it's just bigger, it's more organized, and you're going to get a lot more of the professionals showing up there. So that would be an area that I would go to. There's, different conventions you might hear that are local. Where do you live?
I live in New York, so
New York.
on
So
East
you've got
Coast.
like New York Comic Con and things like that, where those are
Right,
great places to go and show up and bring your portfolio and meet some of the professionals and just get advice, and realize that you don't need to get advice from 10 professionals. You only need to get advice from one or two, if you believe in what they do and you trust them, that this person experienced, and just listen to what they have to tell you and just follow that. Because some people, they end up, they want to show, I need to meet 5 different people, and they're all telling you the exact same thing, right? So try not to, just, you're waiting to hear the good stuff, and sometimes you don't, right? And why it's so important to show professionals your artwork and not just family members or friends, because they're always going to tell you how beautiful and wonderful everything is. So get that experience from the professional, have them look through your artwork. If you trust in them, if you believe that you're going to get the good, honest opinion. This is why I do those 30-minute mentorships with people, because I know I'm going to tell you exactly what you need and take out that BS, but make sure that you're heeding that advice and listen to it and follow through. And that's the best thing you can do. But I would advise Lightbox absolutely over CTN.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. My pleasure. All right, looks like we're going to wrap up today with Anubhav. You got one more question there?
Hello.
Oh, Gabriel, I see Gabriel. Okay, go ahead, Anubhav.
Stephen, you said that if you are trying to work in animation industry, you need to have variety, and if you are trying to work in illustration industry, you need to be specific.
Yes.
Therefore, we do not need to try out mimic other art styles in illustration.
It's, why it's not so as well advised. So you can have on your portfolio, if you want to do industry work, animation, show that right category, and then you might have an illustration section on there, but try to be consistent. And the reason I say this is because I faced it myself when I was working in the illustration world. When you're working with those specific clients for magazine illustration, book illustration, again, whatever it may be, they will want to see a specific style, and they know what they're looking for. A client may say, we want something very retro, or we want something very graphic, or we want something more realistic. And they want to know that they're going to get that from you. If they hire you, they want to know that they get that from you. If you have an illustration portfolio that's showing all different kinds of illustrations, they may say, listen, we really need this sort of look and style, and we need it consistent. And that's why it's just very important on that illustration realm to show that, especially in the magazine and book markets. And that's what I'm seeing. And you'll see a lot of these agencies, when you go to, you can Google like art agencies that represent artists. They represent artists specifically for their style, because they know when they're pitching out to all these other brands, they could be going to Coca-Cola, they could be going to any sort of company. They may, that client may say, hey, we're looking for this specific illustrator to do this specific thing. Oh, we actually have an artist that does that specific look. And that's why it's very helpful to be specific. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. You bet. All right. Let's go to Gabriel. And then we got another question with Kevin. All right. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Hey, Steve. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks.
Yeah. I remember seeing you a while back at Lightbox Expo, so it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I wanted to ask, and I'm not sure if this is like an overcomplicated question or not, but like say I'm wanting to start a couple of short film projects now, and I'm wondering, like, how I go about recruiting people for the projects. Like, how would you go about like finding the right people for the right job? And like, let's say like, it would be like volunteer based or anything like that. What are the steps that somebody needs to take in order to like recruit people
Yeah.
properly?
Well, that can be very tricky, especially as you're a new upcomer, and I don't believe that any artist should be giving any of their work out for free, and just try and do that. So you got to be careful with that aspect. Again, that's where if you're doing something collaboratively with friends, you guys are pooling together and you guys are putting in that sweat equity. Hey, we're going to create this project and we're going to kickstart it, or we're going to do something or try to pitch to a studio. You're doing this collaborative thing. And I think that's a lot healthier and can work. But trying to recruit someone on the outside is, who are you following through social media? You might find what sort of artist are you looking for. You might find them on Instagram. You might find them on LinkedIn. And of course, you can always reach out and say, I'm doing something. But again, it's going to be, don't expect anyone just to be like, yeah, I'm just going to do this for you that I don't really know for free. And again, because what happens, unfortunately, out there's just a lot of, everyone's trying to get artists to work for free, and there's build your exposure. This is going to help you get noticed, and it's just not true. We build our own exposure. We're responsible, and that person really needs to trust and believe in you, and you're gonna want to offer that person an agreement or a contract that says, should anything actually happen, that person is responsible, and you want to make sure you're giving that person all the rights to the work. It's like, hey, whatever characters you design, they're yours. You get to keep them. You put them in your portfolio. You could do whatever you want with it. That's what you gotta have, that agreement, because why else would an artist want to just give you something for nothing? There's no way. And I encourage that all the time for them not to do that sort of thing. So it's going to be a little bit of a difficult challenge for you on that front. And that's why it's always better if you kind of know people, they know who you are, is going to be a better route for that. But yeah, it's tricky territory. Yeah.
No, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for the advice.
Yeah, you bet. My pleasure. All right, and let's go with wrap it up with Kevin here. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, can you guys hear me all right? I
Yep,
had
can hear you.
Using kind of a different mic this time. So I kind of have a twofold question. One of them is about using LinkedIn. So, I've been using LinkedIn a lot, and I've actually connected with like a lot of industry people. Some I've like known, some who are actually like creators, like people that created shows that I watched growing up that are on LinkedIn. So I'm kind of at that point where like sometimes it's easy to like reach out and connect with a person, but kind of following up after that is like where I get stuck. It's like, okay, cool, like I have this like person that I know
Right.
in my connections, but like now what? Like I don't know like what to say, and it kind of like sits there and like I've gathered up connections, but I'm not really like I'm kind of stuck on how to do it because like I don't want to waste the other person's time
Sure, right,
without doing
exactly.
stuff. So I guess my first question is like how do you be intentional with connecting with industry professionals, and how do you do it like effectively, but also just like respectfully to the other person? Because again, like I don't want to ask anybody to
Sure,
like look at
sure.
my stuff for free, but also it's like, well, it'd be nice to find somebody to like mentor me.
Sure, great question. Yeah, there is that initial introduction, and that's very important whenever you are reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, that you just don't have their write whatever their words of connecting with someone are. You actually write something out that's meaningful, that person, you've already kind of engaged them on that front, like, hey, I just want to reach out and let you know I was a huge fan, blah, 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 growing up and this and that. And then the next thing you mentioned, the word was intentional, and you got to have intention. So that next thing is, it's okay at that point to say what that may be. And whether or not they have the time and are going to look through your work is a whole nother thing. But what I would reach out to them on that next front is, what do you want? What is their intention? Most people aren't looking just to create brand new friends off of social media. Most people already have tons of followers, tons of friends, especially if they're working in the industry. They're not looking just to make another friend just to chat with. There's usually you coming forward and saying, hey, would you mind if I ask a question? I'm looking to break into the industry doing this, that, the other. Do you have any advice on something that you would recommend, right? So it's okay to ask people for advice. If you're asking someone, hey, can you just look at my portfolio and just give me all the ins and outs and tell me everything that I need to do and blah, 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 and going on, that might be a little bit harder as opposed to, hey, would you mind if I just looking at my portfolio kind of like super quick and just give me just one tip? You know, is there one tip that you can give me that I need to do to improve my portfolio that you might share? You might get their response that way. Again, it's not guaranteed, but at least it's a way to connect with them and show them who you are. And just know that you're not going to be friends with all these people. What I would say is what I got from LinkedIn. Every time people did keep reaching out to me, they'd always send me an email. Hey, Stephen, just want to reach out again. I know that Disney was, they just put a job post. People would become very familiar to me, like because I saw their emails multiple times and then I knew their skill set. They were good at what they did. Every time a position came up, I would think about them usually first because they were on top of mind. Oh, I remember those 3 background designers or that color designer, whoever it was, because they did keep reaching out and asking about a specific job. And it's okay to do that. If you hear of something, hey, I heard they're looking again, or hey, has there been any update, right? You can do that. Don't be afraid to do that. Just don't be a pest about it. But it's okay. If you're in connection with someone 4 times, 5 times a year, that's healthy. That's a good thing, right? You're not every single week, every single month, and you're being respectful of their time. I think that's a good approach to do it. I never looked at anyone as being a pest, and I never got irritated by anyone like that. I would just get irritated by people if they would just not have anything personal in the email that they sent to me and was just so like unpersonal. And it's like, what are you just throwing this out to everyone? Just throwing out the fishing bait and just, too much to where there's nothing personalized. So try to add a little bit of personalization in there, and that can go a long way. All right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's we went 43 minutes over. Who knew? But I'm glad I was able just to answer all the questions. This has been recorded. If you wanted to hear anything back, again, I want to encourage anyone out there, if you're interested in just getting one-on-one 30-minute session where I can go over your portfolio and try to guide you and give you that career advice that you may be looking for, feel free just to reach out. Go to silverdrawnacademy.com and just go to the portfolio reviews, and I'm there for you. I do it every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the days. All right. But you guys, it's Saturday. Have a great day. Have fun. Thanks for showing up. And I'm hoping that this was real helpful for you guys. Go out there, do your best, keep focusing on what you want to do, keep improving upon your skill set. Don't be afraid to reach out and connect with people. That's what it's all about. It's all about networking. It's all about building up relationships, but it's really all about building up that self-confidence within yourself so that you have the ability to speak and ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't give up. Stay dedicated to this. This is what you want to do. Make it happen. It's a puzzle. And in order to make a puzzle, we got to take all those pieces and we got to put those pieces together piece by piece. All right. And piece by piece will eventually bring you that piece. And that's how we form our puzzle, is one piece at a time. It's not going to happen in one big moment. All right. Just put in that time and energy, but know what you want. That's going to be vital, and start to get good at it. All right. Stay connected. And you guys can all follow me on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn already, just go to Steven Silver. I'm going to let you in. Come on in. I'll see you guys around. All right. Take care.